Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So we're just going to step in with a couple of introductions before we sort of drive forward with the broader webinar content. So I'll kick off. I'm Alex Parkinson, and I work as a Microsoft Cloud-focused solutions architect for Comms-Care. And ultimately, my role today is to take you through the Azure VMware Solution stepping stone to cloud transformation proposition, and then to sort of showcase how Henson Group and Comms-Care can collectively support the acceleration of your business's cloud transformation journey. And with that, Bobby, I'll hand over to you.
All right, thanks everybody for joining. My name is Bobby Lynch. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here with Henson Group. I'm based out of our World Trade Center office in New York City. Looking forward to today's webinar and looking forward to any questions in the chat that we can answer later on. I'll pass it over to Mike Elkin, our Enterprise Account Executive.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Mike Elkin from Henson Group. Also out of New York City with Bobby. Looking forward to a great webinar today. So Henson Group has been around for 20 years. We have about 200 employees worldwide. We're also an Azure expert MSP globally. We focus on Azure, but we also have skills around M365 and Dynamics 365 as well. And we're managed from Microsoft in 5 countries. So we're a top CSP as well, and can help you with solution assessments, as well as getting Microsoft funding for some of your projects. Henson Group is great, to work with, because we have the expertise to really help you with your migrations, right? With less risk than others, right? So we can help you with low-cost migrations. Also give you, free support. If you join our CSP, we offer free Microsoft Premier support. So looking forward to today's webinar and working with you guys today.
Thanks very much, guys. Okay, and then just to set some context in terms of Comms-Care and where we come into things. So first and foremost, Comms-Care is what's known as a channel-first services organization. So what that means is we work quite closely with our channel partners, such as Henson Group, to collaboratively service the needs and requirements of our end customers. So who's Comms-Care? We were established back in 2002, turning 20 this year, and we've been a wholly owned part of the Ingram Micro company since 2016 now. We're also a managed Microsoft Gold partner, so we hold 5 Microsoft sort of advanced specializations, 16 Gold competencies, and as a business, we're recognized as the leading channel-first solutions and services provider within the United Kingdom. So our workforce is made up of around 250 full-time employees, with our subject matter experts considered some of the most highly skilled within the UK market, all of which are also security cleared. And in addition to this, and obviously very prevalent to today's topic, we're also recognized as a VMware Principal Managed Partner, and ideally positioned to support you and also your customers along your Azure VMware Solution journey. So let's jump forward into the broader webinar content. Okay, so today is all about Microsoft's Azure VMware Solution, or AVS for short, and we'll be kicking off with an introduction to the Azure VMware Solution service. From here, we will then explore some of the more common cloud transformation roadblocks and how AVS can help mitigate these. We'll then conclude with exploring how AVS provides the perfect stepping stone to cloud transformation for existing VMware customers, along with how Henson Group and Comms-Care can collectively support your journey or your customer's journey into Azure with Azure VMware Solution. So let's get started. What is Azure VMware Solution? So the first point I want to make here is that AVS is just another flavor of Azure Compute, meaning that the solution runs on Azure and you benefit from all the great scale and capabilities that the Azure ecosystem provides. It's a true first-party Microsoft service that has been validated by VMware, providing a comprehensive VMware environment running natively on dedicated Azure infrastructure. So that's the full VMware Cloud Foundation suite across vSphere, vSAN, HCX, and NSXT. And in addition, AVS enables you to seamlessly run, manage, and secure your workloads and applications across existing VMware environments and Microsoft Azure, driving cloud transformation whilst capitalizing on your existing VMware investments, skills, and tools, and also leveraging the scale, performance, and innovation that Azure brings. Whilst each instance of Azure VMware Solution offers unique capabilities and use cases, let's take a look at some of the more common use cases we see where we're talking Azure VMware Solution within our customer base. So we often come across customers who are looking to reduce, consolidate, or perhaps even retire their existing data center, or maybe their on-premises VMware environment. With AVS, we can reduce organizations' existing on-premises infrastructure footprint through one-time redeployment of VMware-based applications and workloads, adopting a lift and shift style approach to migrate to Azure in a non-disruptive and automated fashion without necessarily changing the underlying vSphere hypervisor. We also see customers who are maybe looking to expand their data center, perhaps through hybrid cloud or burstability. Again, AVS enables that ability to seamlessly expand, perhaps just for short periods even, providing capacity on demand by relying on the elasticity that public cloud can offer. We also have disaster recovery and business continuity. With AVS, the VMware stack deployed in Azure can also be used as a primary or secondary on-demand disaster recovery site for on-premises data center infrastructure. Speed and simplification of migration. Often our customers are driven by time-bound requirements. Perhaps they're looking to exit their existing data center quickly, or maybe they've got concerns around infrastructure supportability. AVS can help fulfill that need quickly with minimal change and technical upskilling. We also have application modernization, development, and testing. So perhaps that modernization is a slightly less common use case for AVS. However, once our customers have established and stabilized their AVS environment, they can then look to further integrate with Azure, perhaps enabling their application developers to tap into the broader Azure ecosystem with the benefit that they don't need to refactor their existing VMware-based workloads. So where do we go from here? Running VMware natively on Azure. So from a logical viewpoint, this is just a high-level overview of a deployed Azure VMware Solution environment. On the left-hand side, we have the standard or typical on-premises deployment of the VMware technology stack, with the Azure ecosystem sitting over on the right-hand side. AVS sits within dedicated Azure private cloud infrastructure, and leveraging the Azure Backbone network coupled with Azure ExpressRoute, we can enable seamless connectivity between on-premises VMware services, applications, and workloads, and your Azure private cloud infrastructure, so AVS. In addition, we can also enable seamless connectivity into other Azure IaaS and PaaS or infrastructure and platform-based services, along with other Azure native and third-party service offerings, such as Azure Active Directory or even Azure Security Services. At its core, AVS is considered a first-party Azure native solution that's been verified by VMware. So ultimately, AVS enables fully featured VMware private cloud environments within the Azure cloud infrastructure. But what are the features of Azure VMware Solution? First and foremost, we have the familiar VMware technology stack. AVS is fully compatible with VMware tools, including vCenter, vSphere Client, vMotion, and vRealize, and many more. AVS is also based on the latest version of VMware vSphere, including vSAN Enterprise and NSXT. In addition, AVS also provides a fully featured networking stack, fully supporting existing VMware environment networking capabilities. We then have the integration with Azure and its high-performance cloud infrastructure. So that's low latency connectivity into Azure through Azure Express Route. AVS also leverages the wider Azure ecosystem, including Azure management, governance, and security capabilities. In addition, Microsoft provides a single point of contact for support, whether that's Azure-focused or VMware. AVS also runs on dedicated and isolated bare metal infrastructure, whilst benefiting from Azure's optimized, scalable and resilient infrastructure, driving true redundancy and the ability to implement fine-grained placement controls. So, to summarize, an Azure VMware Solution private cloud includes clusters with dedicated bare metal servers provisioned with a VMware ESXi hypervisor. It includes VMware vCenter Server for managing ESXi and vSAN. It also includes VMware NSXT, so that's data center software-defined networking for vSphere workloads, in addition to VMware vSAN Data Store. VMware HCX is also included and fully supported for workload mobility, which is a topic that we'll come on to later today. Just before we take a look at the software and hardware packages available as part of Azure VMware Solution, it's important to highlight that the Azure VMware Solution private cloud platform is maintained for you by Microsoft. So Microsoft is responsible for the lifecycle management of VMware software and NSXT appliances, inclusive of patches, updates, and upgrades. So the software specification. Now, as things stand today, all new Azure VMware Solution private clouds are deployed with VMware vCenter Server and ESXi version 7, both currently running update 3C. It's also deployed with VMware HCX version 4.33 and NSXT Data Center version 3.12. Now, over on the hardware side, as we've already mentioned, Azure VMware Solution clusters are based on hyper-converged bare metal infrastructure. Now, where we look specifically at the UK data centers, there are two hardware specifications available. So we've got AV36 and we've got AV52. And ultimately, you can choose between these based on your needs and requirements. Most importantly, though, an Azure VMware Solution cluster requires a minimum number of 3 hosts and can grow to a maximum of 16. And all hosts within a single cluster must be of the same type. So if you're deploying AV52 nodes, every node or host within that cluster also has to be an AV52. However, if you had a requirement to deploy both AV36 and AV52, you can use multiple clusters with different host types in a single Azure private cloud. Let's talk pricing benefits. First and foremost, with AVS providing a unified licensing experience across both the Azure and VMware components, you can avoid any unnecessary complexity and can also take confidence in managing a single vendor, so Microsoft in this instance, for both licensing and resource consumption. AVS is available on an hourly pay-as-you-go basis. It's invoiced in line with other Azure services and is based on monthly usage. Now, when we look at moving your VMware workloads to Azure, this also enables you to maximize the value of any existing Windows Server and SQL licenses. So you can leverage savings of up to 80% with Azure Hybrid Use Benefit and Azure Reserved Instances for AVS. In addition, bringing your Windows Server 2008 and 2012 workloads to Azure brings the added benefit of extended security updates at no additional charge. In terms of support, whilst AVS is fully validated by VMware, it's developed, operated and supported by Microsoft, with Microsoft acting as the sole point of contact for both Azure and VMware-based support requirements. So if ever there was a need for VMware-based support, Microsoft would coordinate with VMware on your behalf, working towards resolution. Now that you've been introduced to the Azure VMware Solution service, Let's take a look across some of the common cloud transformation roadblocks we see and how AVS is positioned to help mitigate these. Having worked as an architect within the public cloud space for some time now, I often come across customers who are resistant to cloud transformation, citing varying reasons, such as spiraling costs, a reduction in control over security, concerns around the time needed for IT operations teams to be reskilled, equally concerns around the time taken to transition, and maybe more importantly, concerns around the need for existing applications and services to be re-architected to enable that transition. Now, while in my opinion, these are all very valid concerns, in my experience, they also lead to some interesting conversations when we explore the logical thought process behind such concerns and evaluate the true power of the public cloud. And perhaps this is even more prevalent when we consider the Azure VMware Solution proposition. So change is definitely called for when we're looking at migrating existing applications, workloads, and services into the cloud. But what if migrating to the public cloud didn't have to be as complex as fully transforming and re-architecting your applications and services? Now this brings us back to Azure VMware Solution. So how can we leverage Azure VMware Solution to mitigate these common cloud transformation roadblocks? Let's start with training. So we often come across customers who are concerned that they don't have the time to reskill their existing team to accommodate the change that cloud transformation brings. But how do we mitigate this with AVS? Much as Azure VMware Solution is a first-party Microsoft solution and is provided through Microsoft's Azure Cloud, you can actually continue to manage your environment using the same VMware tools you already know and trust, such as the vSphere client or Power CLI. This reduces the time required to reskill IT operations teams and also makes the most of any existing VMware investments that you've made. In addition, the ability to continue managing your VMware estate through existing tools, coupled with the ability to seamlessly move to Azure using VMware's HCX technology, ensures operational consistency and continuity when redeploying your VMware-based workloads, applications, and services into Azure. We also have customers who are concerned about cost spiraling once they transition into the cloud. And again, AVS can help mitigate this concern. So as we've already explored, AVS is priced on a monthly per host basis, covering the configuration which is based on core, memory, and storage requirements. This affords businesses the benefit of choosing the type of host that best fits their needs, so perhaps an AV36 or even an AV52. Businesses can also be safe in the knowledge that AVS is based on predictable cost. And in addition, you can take advantage of reserved instance purchase options for 1 or 3 years, offering further price predictability. We also see concerns in the security space. So we're often faced with customers who are concerned that transition into the cloud will negatively impact the level of security that they can provide across their infrastructure. Now, when you consider that security is a fundamental part of the Azure VMware Solution proposition, it becomes quite an easy conversation in terms of how we can mitigate that concern when we look at AVS. So first and foremost, it's considered secure by design. So what we mean by that is it allows customers to run their existing VMware workloads in a safe and trustable environment. It's backed by the wider Azure ecosystem and the high levels of security, encryption, governance, and compliance that that ecosystem brings. Now, building on top of that secure by design principle, Microsoft's Azure Security Baseline also includes further guidance and recommendations for tuning or hardening the security of your Azure VMware Solution environment. And this covers areas such as network security fundamentals, how we can secure identities, how we can manage privileged access into that environment, and also how we can make sure that the data is protected. And these are all areas that collectively Henson Group and Comms-Care can support. In addition, One of the key principles of AVS is to enable customers to continue to use their existing VMware Solutions investments. And this has led to many independent software vendors or ISVs, such as Bitdefender and Checkpoint, working in collaboration with Microsoft to validate their existing VMware solutions with Azure's VMware solution, covering many aspects of the security ecosystem, such as threat protection and security scanning. So, to conclude our exploration into the common roadblocks we see when we talk cloud transformation and how AVS can help mitigate these, we've also got concerns within the compatibility space. So we work with a number of customers who have reasonably substantial concerns around the cloud compatibility of their applications and services, and the perception that those applications and services need to be re-architected before they're in a position to transition into the cloud. And this is having a knock-on effect and seeing those customers staying very much within the on-premises world. So let's take a step back. Broadly speaking, when we look at cloud transformation, it typically falls into three different categories. We've got infrastructure as a service, we've got platform as a service, and we've got software as a service. And each of these require varying levels of change to achieve that successful transformation. Now, where does AVS come into this? AVS sits very much in that infrastructure as a service category. And at its core, the solution is just VMware running in Azure, meaning that if your workloads are compatible with VMware and run within your existing VMware estate, they'll also be compatible and run within AVS. In addition to that, VMware HCX is also included with AVS, and this enables the seamless redeployment, extension, and running of existing VMware workloads in Azure with the added benefit of the backing of the wider Azure ecosystem. Now, ultimately, AVS reduces the time taken to transition into the cloud, and that need for existing applications and services to be re-architected to enable that transition is no longer a problem. So let's circle back to the common cloud transformation roadblocks we've looked at. We've looked at training concerns, concerns around cost, concerns around security, and also concerns around the compatibility of our existing estate. Now, pulling this all together and also looking at the benefits and the features of AVS, in my opinion at least, AVS goes a long way towards mitigating a lot of these recurring concerns that I hear when discussing cloud transformation within our customer base. And with this in mind, AVS provides the perfect stepping stone to enabling cloud transformation. It truly drives that initial adoption of cloud IaaS compute services and also paves the way for broader service modernization in the future. Now we're going to take some time to explore how AVS provides that perfect cloud transformation stepping stone. So let's jump in. Talking generally, the cloud transformation journey has varying different points of entry. And when we're talking cloud within our customer base, we often come across a variety of different migration drivers and triggers that ultimately determine direction of travel or cloud path within that particular customer. And across these different migration drivers and triggers, we also come across varying different entry points. So one entry point we often see is an immediate need or requirement for cloud. So maybe we're working with a customer who has legacy versions of Windows, maybe Server 2008, and need to transition those workloads into Azure to benefit from those extended security updates. We also see customers who are focusing on that longer term objective, so broader scale business transformation strategy with a view to modernizing and moving into the cloud. And similarly, we also see customers that are wanting to leverage a multi or poly-cloud approach, spanning multiple vendors such as Azure, AWS, and even GCP. Regardless of your entry point to cloud, where we talk transition or migration within our customer base, there are key considerations that we come up against. Now, for me, over the past few years, I found it really interesting supporting different organizations as they have risen to the new challenges that cloud brings. Maybe that's working across a distributed workforce or an increased need for business continuity driving elastic demands. And also that growing pressure for businesses to innovate so that they can compete with a new wave of cloud startup businesses. All at the same time, these organizations and businesses still face the challenges that legacy infrastructure brings. Maybe that's incompatibilities with the existing platform, or considerations across the vast compliance requirements that these different organizations need to adhere to. Now, if I look across the businesses we've supported through their cloud transformation journeys, there are a number of persistent challenges, persistent considerations that we often come up against. So we have the need for speed. So in short, this is the need to migrate to the cloud quickly or to expand capacity rapidly. So maybe we're working with a customer whose data center contract's expiring and they have a consideration for that speed in terms of transition. We've also got cost and complexity. So a lot of the businesses we work with have big considerations around reduction in cost, reducing the complexity of their transition projects, and also reducing any risks associated with that large scale transition or move into the cloud. And finally, we have people and processes. And what we're recognizing here is the importance of minimizing the impact of change. So what we don't want to do is have to create new processes. So we try to leverage the people and skills that these businesses already have. Now, collectively, these challenges resonate really well where we talk Azure VMware Solution and that stepping stone transition into the Microsoft Cloud. Let's take a look at a typical cloud migration strategy. Now, in my world, the development of a cloud migration strategy typically starts with exploring the value of cloud transformation, then understanding and evaluating business-specific migration triggers and drivers, then flowing into an evaluation of existing on-premises applications, data, and infrastructure, ultimately working to determine the best way to migrate or modernize each workload, driving cloud rationalization through what we know as the 5 Rs. So in the terms of that 5R concept, we have rehost, so driving reduced capital expenditure, a quick return on investment, and reducing your on-premises infrastructure footprint. We then have refactor, which is all about driving code portability and greater efficiencies. We then have re-architect, driving application scale and agility. We then move into rebuild, which is all around accelerating innovation within your business and reducing operational costs. And finally, we have replace, which focuses on the future replacement of applications and workloads where that might be relevant through the adoption of software as a service-based applications. Now, where we look at cloud migration triggers, the two most common trigger types we see are IT-orientated triggers and app-orientated triggers. So if we look at the IT-orientated triggers first, these are typically migration-focused and driven by timelines, perhaps underpinning compelling events such as end of support or the closure of your data center. And these lead to a lift and shift or rehost style strategy to migration, leveraging Azure infrastructure services. Then if we look at the app-orientated side, these are typically modernization focused and driven by wider business strategy and prioritization within your application stack. Maybe that's a need to stay relevant or a need to enable new business opportunities and deliver applications faster and more efficiently. Ultimately, with the app-orientated triggers, we're working to drive innovation through refactoring, re-architecting, or rebuilding applications. Now, likening this back to Azure VMware Solution, the AVS solution sits firmly within the IT-orientated trigger type, with AVS providing a cloud migration stepping stone strategy, seeing existing VMware applications and workloads being transitioned or moved into Azure. Now let's explore the AVS stepping stone concept a little further. So AVS and that stepping stone concept. As you can see here, we have the on-premises VMware vSphere stack on the left-hand side, and that concept of rehosting with Azure VMware Solution over on the right-hand side. Now, if we look at these elements in the middle, AVS not only delivers a comprehensive VMware environment that allows you to run native workloads on Azure, but it also provides that quick method to move your existing VMware workloads without the need for underpinning architectural change. And this drives a truly accelerated and streamlined rehost migration, bringing instant benefits with minimal change. And this is why we see this as primed to be the perfect foundational stepping stone to drive future modernization. Now, using AVS as your stepping stone into the Azure cloud, you gain continuity, speed, and scale for VMware workloads on the global Azure infrastructure. You can keep using your existing VMware investment, skills, and tools, including vSphere, vSAN, and vCenter, and all other providers' tools. You can leverage the unmatched pricing for Windows and SQL Server, even benefiting from free extended security updates. But most importantly, you can accelerate your cloud transformation project, mitigating many of those traditional concerns using AVS as an initial stepping stone migration. This means that you can transition your workloads into the cloud, then seamlessly modernize your application stack over time, integrating with Azure native services, management capabilities, and security capabilities. With that AVS stepping stone to cloud concept in mind, we can also leverage VMware HCX to migrate workloads into Azure. Now, for those of you that don't know or perhaps haven't heard of HCX before, HCX, or Hybrid Cloud Extension, is VMware's all-in-one solution for application and workload mobility, and it's been designed to enable large-scale live migrations, whilst also providing an optimized path for business continuity and disaster recovery. And the best part is that it's included as part of the Azure VMware Solution. Now, within the context of AVS and that stepping stone migration, our primary use case for leveraging HCX is to enable that simple, cost-effective, and accelerated live migration of your applications and workloads into Azure with minimal downtime. Yes, it's perhaps also worth mentioning that HCX is by no means the only route to transition VMware workloads into Azure. There are also many third-party services available. But with HCX included within that running cost of AVS, it truly brings some interesting benefits, such as reducing the cost and complexity of live migration, even eliminating the risk of refactoring applications and workloads, and also harnessing those existing and native VMware tools, eliminating the costs associated with reskilling your technical team. Just before I hand back over to Bobby and Mike, I wanted to take the time to leave you with a few key takeaways. First and foremost, AVS is a first-party, Azure native, and VMware verified solution. So ultimately, AVS is Azure, and that enables fully featured VMware private cloud environments within the Azure cloud. AVS also enables the redeployment, extension, and running of your existing VMware workloads in Azure, reducing the overall time taken to transition and eliminating the need for existing applications and services to be re-architected, ultimately accelerating your journey to the cloud, but still at a pace that works for you. AVS also provides a stepping stone transition into Azure, and whilst this brings huge benefits in its own right, more importantly, it also lays the foundation for the future modernization of your VMware-based applications and workloads within the broader Azure ecosystem. And finally, AVS is cost-effective. Moving your VMware workloads to Azure enables you to maximize the value of your existing Windows Server and SQL Server licenses, saving up to 80% with Azure Hybrid Use Benefit and Azure Reserved Instances for AVS. So to summarize, if we keep in mind that the capabilities of the AVS service go some way towards mitigating those reoccurring concerns we hear when talking cloud transformation within our customer base, AVS is truly primed as a perfect stepping stone to enabling cloud transformation, driving the initial adoption of cloud IaaS compute services, and also paving the way for broader service modernization in the future. So hopefully you're interested now in exploring how AVS could be that perfect stepping stone to enabling the cloud transformation journey of your customers and partners, or your own business cloud transformation journey, along with a wider AVS opportunity. And with that, I'll pass over to Bobby and Mike, who will take you through how we can collectively support your cloud transformation journey with Azure VMware Solution.
All right, thank you, Alex. That was great. Very well done, sir. A little clap over here in the back for you. So thank you very much, Alex, for that wonderful presentation. I think I'll leave it up to Mike if you want to take over for our AVS solution.
Yeah, so we offer free assessments, right? If you're looking to look at an assessment of your current workloads on-premise for VMware, we offer a free assessment, to move to AVS. So if anybody's interested, just let me know. I gave you my email here in the chat. And thanks for joining. Really appreciate it.
If we have any questions, we could throw them in the chat too, answer them as well, or let us know if you have anything further. We'll follow up with an email as well. Again, as Mike said, he's Mike@hensongroup.com. Nice and easy to remember. I'm also Bobby at hensongroup.com if you have any further questions. It doesn't look like we have any questions at this point. Alex, if you have anything left, please let us know. We can hang on here, but we appreciate everybody for coming today and enjoying our webinar. We look forward to touching base with everybody too. All right, thank you very much, Esther and Alex and Mike. It looks like a couple of people made some chats and some thank yous. Nice job, and some congratulations and nice job to Alex as well in the chats and the questions. Job well done, sir.
No problem. Thanks very much, guys.
Great. It looks like that might be everything. So if there's no other questions, we could probably close it out and drop back and give you all a few minutes back of your day.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And just, I suppose, a close out from me, but if anyone does have any follow-up questions, feel free to email them across to Bobby and the team, and we'll come back to you on email just to cover anything off if there's any specifics that you want to ask that maybe you don't want to share publicly.
Sounds great.
No problem. Thanks very much, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for your time today.